I don't know. Whatever. I'm sad. This is a sad show. Welcome in. We were gonna be the Bang Bang Gang. We were excited tonight to just have the two of us here. We're talking about Dick Mountain later. This is supposed to be a happy episode, but it's not, because the Arizona Diamondbacks lose game 1 against the Seattle Mariners by a score that really doesn't matter, because they were down essentially in the first inning, and they never mustered up enough offense to get past essentially the deficit that they were in prior to picking up the bats for the first time. My name is Derek Montilla. I am occasionally known as your mayor of the city of Phoenix. This man next to me, even when he's low on energy, is still Mr. Electric, Shawn. And we will be hearing from the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman here in a bit from Chase Field. But, of course, first we have to talk about this loss. Now, obviously, Tommy Henry had a terrible first inning, right?
Yeah.
He goes out there, he gives up 3 doubles, a single, a walk, 4 earned runs in the first inning before, again, the Diamondbacks even picked up their bats. But theoretically here, when you look at the end of the game, you look at what Tommy Henry was able to do after that point. Do you blame Henry for this loss, or do you just blame the offense that really couldn't muster up more than 2 runs on essentially an error?
I mean, I know it's kind of a chicken's way out of the answer. It's both. Like, I mean, it's because it's hard, because I would understand if the offense, like, you go out, you haven't even had a chance to swing yet, and you're already down 4-0. Like, that's pretty discouraging. But on the other hand, like, you're a professional ball player, you kind of just have to do your job, especially at the plate. So, I think because of what has been going on with the bullpen, the offense is beginning somewhat of a pass for how just lethargic they've been lately. Like, no part of this team except for Ketel Marte has been good.
Yeah. That's fair. I would say Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, but he didn't have a good night.
He did not have a good night tonight. But when you talk about the effort, I don't think you see a difference in effort from Corbin Carroll. I do feel like at times, like you're saying, you can kind of see the air let out of their balloon. And like you said, there is something to be said about being down 4 runs before you even go out there and play. You know, have one offensive at bat, but. I don't know right now. The Diamondbacks offense has not been very good lately. They continue to kind of struggle. The only time when we do see them when we're able to see them put up a lot of runs seems to be in games when they're giving up a lot of runs. Yeah. Right. Like, it's just kind of a weird thing here where they show up when it's not important, when it's a blowout, when essentially they're down by a lot, but when they have a chance to potentially come back and answer back like they've done all season long. Lately, they have not. Tommy Henry, again, not a great first inning, but when you look at his overall line, I think most of us would take something close to this. He gives up, he goes 6 innings pitch, he gives up 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Yeah. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not even going to go out on a limb and say it's good. I'm just going to say that Tommy Henry, after an outing, you wouldn't be that upset if that was his line.
Yeah. I mean, he's not the ace.
Yeah.
It's not his job to go out there. I mean, it's not the expectation for him to go out there and pitch 7 no score.
And he was incredible.
Right?
Let's be honest. He was really good. I think he sat down, I believe it was close to 10 plus in a row. After that first inning, he definitely got things back on track. It's just unfortunate that it took, that terrible first inning for him to go there, right?
And Benjamin saying something that I was going to kind of get at is I feel like for so much at the beginning of the season, we were praising this team for being like something, no matter what, like something's going to go wrong, but they have something else go right to pick it up.
Yeah,
right.
And
now that's not happening. Things are going wrong, and the offense is not showing back up to pick up the bad 4-run inning, or the pitchers are giving up 13 runs when their offense is putting up 7 and forcing their offense to put up 17 or whatever.
I'll take it a step further than that. I will say also the Diamondbacks, I mean, they were doing so well that we were looking at the other side of things and saying, why couldn't they put together more complete performances?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where everything was working at the same time. Now what we're seeing is, to be honest, nothing really working. Or at least nothing working when we exactly need it to, right? the Diamondbacks needed an offensive pick-me-up tonight. They didn't really get it. Like I said,
you've just been waiting for someone to hit a bomb, man.
Yeah, it felt like that. I mean, they had a lot of opportunities. It felt like it's not like they weren't out hit. They had as many hits as the Mariners. Both teams had 10 hits.
That's where I think the value, and we're obviously going to talk more about deadline stuff later, but like the value in like the power bat conversation comes because you look at a guy like Cody Bellinger, and that's exactly what he's been able to do for the Cubs. Is he hits big, he makes big hits, and he injects energy into that team.
Yeah,
that's one thing that can carry teams to. I mentioned it the other day. It's exactly what happened with the Phillies. Bryce Harper sparked that team to play out of their damn mind, and they made the World Series.
You cannot tell me that is not a real thing. And I am a person that
this team doesn't have it.
I don't believe in momentum. I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in a lot of that bullshit, to be honest. But man, the injection of energy from a single player is real, and it can be real.
Yeah.
And don't tell me Ellie De La Cruz did not do that to the Cincinnati Reds.
No.
That is the physical manifestation of energy being injected into a baseball team. That man is an electric ball player, and he makes everybody excited around him. I mean, even when he does dumb shit, it's still like electric because he's at 11. He turns it up to 11 all the time. Like everything he does, it's at a maximum output of energy.
And he plays with his heart in his sleeve.
Right.
That's what I've had this conversation before, and it was framed differently when I was talking to Damon about like this team not having like cool players.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have those guys that wear their heart on their sleeve in that sense. And I think it provides something to teams.
It does. It gets the team fired up. It absolutely does. And right now, at times, we've seen this team, and not just this year's team, this team in the past be too complacent about that. And that's something that may be a reflection of Torey Lovullo a bit, because Torey Lovullo doesn't like to go in that direction necessarily. Torey Lovullo tends to be more of an even keel kind of guy throughout a baseball season because there's so many ebbs and flows throughout the season that he feels like it's better if you kind of stay in that calm state. But we wanted to give a shout out for our super chat, by the way. A super chat during a loss, you're an angel.
The name is advice.
And the name is advice. Be calm, see clearly. That is some advice that the Arizona Diamondbacks could absolutely use right now. And Be Calm, See Clearly asks, why are the trades taking so long? Well, we're going to get to some of the trades that have been made that we've talked about. I've said I'm jealous. I'm getting FOMO. I'm watching these other teams make moves. But some of these trades that are happening right now are, let's be honest. Lucas Giolito was a pretty big name moving and switching.
David Robertson.
Yeah, David Robertson. I don't think he was sad. He was sad. He was texting us curse words about David Robertson getting traded to the Marlins. Right?
I mean, that was like the first name that I was on.
Yeah. Well, a lot of Mets fans are very angry about them.
They traded him in division.
Yeah. Within division to the Marlins.
You're trying to help the Marlins win a World Series? What are we doing?
White flagging it. Big
I mean, unless your mindset is we're going to fleece them for some prospects and he's going to not re-sign at the end of the year, then I guess. But yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, like you said, we're gonna talk about it later. But I think we might need to temper the idea that like the D-backs are being super slow and all these other teams are going crazy. Like, we'll talk about the Dodgers trades. They're not
great. But here is one question that I have, and especially after looking at Tommy Henry's performance tonight, what would you do with the starting rotation if the Diamondbacks are able to land a starting pitcher? The obvious answer here is that starting pitcher fits in with Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen as the top three.
Yep.
So what do you do personally with the rest of the rotation?
DFA Zach Davies over text, eject him into the sun. I don't know.
I understood that reference.
If you know, you know.
Well,
I mean, Zach Davies is the obvious one out in my mind.
Right, but you still are you going to send Brandon Pfaadt back down? Are you going to wait to see Brandon Pfaadt against the Mariners tomorrow?
Let's be real. There's a chance that the problem gets solved in the trade, and that Brandon Pfaadt is someone that gets traded. I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just saying, like, obviously that's a name that keeps coming up in some of the proposals that we talk about on the show. So there's a chance that gets solved.
I mean, yes, as you guys have pointed out, we know we can't make all of these trades with Alec Thomas, Brandon Pfaadt involved. We get it. They're proposals, and we know that the Diamondbacks are most likely going to just make one.
There's the chance. I'm honestly going to be surprised if Davies ever. I don't know if Davies ever pitches again for the Arizona Diamondbacks in an Arizona Diamondbacks uniform. I don't know why you would. Yeah. because you're either requiring someone or Fott is still up here. I think, especially if he has another good start. So
I can't wait to see his next start.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to see his start tomorrow.
I mean, no pressure, young man, but I think that's going to be such an important start, not just for him, but for the organization. Like
hearing Brent Strom talk about the stuff they did and how excited Strom is about how beneficial these were for Brandon Fott. He was just very big on the way that the change to the other side of the rubber it makes his arm slot very deceptive now.
Yeah.
And one of the drills he was talking about, I don't think I had a chance to talk about this the other day, but he has him throw through like a hula hoop, right? So that he throws each pitch through a hula hoop and they all land in the strike zone, but they're different pitches. So they have to go through the hula hoop first to get to the plate.
Yeah.
And then as he perfects it, they move the hula hoop farther and farther away. So they move it closer to the batter's box to try to get him to throw basically, all of the different array of pitches he has through the hula hoop. So they're all coming at you at one point and their break doesn't break until late. I mean,
be calm, see clearly with another super chat. $2. This is a suggestion, man.
Be calm, see clearly with another super chat says, can Davies be in the bullpen as the closer?
He can be in the bullpen as I
don't know.
He can be in the bullpen as a backup bullpen catcher if he wants.
Here's the thing. And
get him off my damn team.
Look, he just wants to DFA him by text.
I do.
But the bigger point here is that the Diamondbacks do have the potential to not send Brandon Fott down, but to potentially make Ryan Nelson or Tommy Henry a bullpen arm.
Yeah, and I think we've seen Tommy out of the bullpen once this year.
We have. And I know that they are kind of committed to not doing that with Ryan Nelson.
But I mean, in the postseason, everything's different when you get there.
And Jesse will have some updates for us on Dre Jameson, but we know how much we hated what they did with Dre Jameson. So I don't know how excited I am to move one of these guys to the bullpen.
Well, I hated it at first, but I loved it after it happened. Like, I love Dre in the bullpen. I think he's
I just hated the switching back and forth. I hated
that's
indecision. If you're going to make him a bullpen arm, make him a bullpen arm.
I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to say Zach Davies is going to be worse or more inconsistent? Use him however you want. It can't get worse than it already is.
I think the idea there is Zach Davies wasn't terrible in short outings, but he could be
opener. He can be an opener.
He could be. A bullpen arm. Right. That's the thing. Essentially, at the end of the day, is that the Diamondbacks have a lot of problems to solve. Of course, today the bullpen gives up just one earned run, but they still gave up an earned run. But they didn't fall apart.
Is that 19 of the last 20 now?
It was basically something like that. And the D-backs have lost 15 of their last 20, which
that is not good.
Not good, folks. Not good. I guess the big question that we're faced with now is, should they even be buyers at the trade deadline? I feel like that's a drastic statement to make. But the one thing I will say based on some of these trades we've seen is it worth it? As Jesse brought up with the Angels being buyers, what are they doing? Where are you getting it at? How are you getting to the playoffs?
Games out of the playoffs, and they lost.
I just don't know, if, and again, I'm not because I think the thing is, and we've tried to clarify this about this team, they don't have to be one or the other. They just have to not make any trades that mortgage their future in order to try to make their team embarrassing tonight. Or embarrassing, better. I'm reading your guys' messages and it's getting in my brain. Groundhound Mama says the bullpen was not the problem tonight. You're absolutely right about that. AZ Sports Girl says embarrassing. Yeah, that's what you could say, especially from the offense tonight. Like I said, outside of Ketel Marte, there was not much offense generated at all. And the runs they did score were due to an error. So we are going to give our King Snake to the one and only mighty Marte, who went 3 for 4 tonight with a walk and was very good again for this team, but unfortunately couldn't do it all by himself. The Diamondbacks, again, went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. So it's not like they didn't have opportunities. And, I mean, I know hitting with runners in scoring position it's something a lot of teams aren't very good at, but the opportunities squandered and their inability to convert really tells the tale here, because it's not like they didn't have enough hits. They just weren't able to get the big hit that drove in the runs.
Washburn wants the team to get moved to Flint. Now batting for your Flint Tropics. Number 7, Corbin Carroll. What are we talking about?
Just stuff being sad. We're just
sad.
Man. We're just sad. We're sad that the Diamondbacks suck because this sucks. And I mean, I think you made the comparison to our wonderful producer tonight, Leah. By the way, Leah Merrill's here tonight.
Hello.
Leah,
what comparison?
I haven't produced the show in a while. And I didn't bring any luck to the D-backs tonight.
You did
so
not.
Although our conversation on baked goods.
Yeah, we had a long
discussion
about baked goods.
One of several long.
It continued over from earlier today in the discussion in the office
from like yesterday.
Yeah, we've been on this bread kick, arguing about bread, but somehow while we were doing that, not paying attention to the game, that's when
we were talking about them not being able to hit with runners in scoring position.
That's what
I was going to say is. And I know I'm not a professional baseball player, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm an idiot. But also, it's the same thing. You're batting. It's the same thing.
There's just a guy over there on third.
That it's,
what the fuck? Why can't you get him in?
Like, baseball is an incredibly mental game, so I understand why it is more difficult. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you were just trying to do the same thing you do all the other times.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same. It's the same. Wait,
the mental part of it is what makes this so frustrating because it feels like this is so mental because we know they are better.
Why can't any of their relievers fucking get through the 9th inning? Why is it they all collapse no matter who it is?
It feels like a mental
thing. But then they go in the 8th or they go in the 7th or they go in the 6th and they're able to get, one hit, no runs scored. Why? Well, because people look at me in the press box when we have this discussion like I'm crazy and they're like, Derek, the 9th inning, that's the 3 hardest outs to get. And I'm like, no, that's not even the case.
It's 3 outs.
Statistically, it's the 7th and 8th that's technically harder than the 9th. It's just hard for the Diamondbacks to get it. I don't know. But I'm very frustrated, as we all are.
Can I just address something real quick?
Is not doing well.
Benjamin made a few. First off, Ohtani is a half of a year rental. Bednar has control. Yeah, Cogs is saying it. And I think that is, that's the thing, getting back to what we were talking about, not wanting to, do too much and mortgage the future.
Correct.
First off, there's not a whole lot of trades that have been made. There's really been 2 major trades that have been made. It's the Giolito trade and the Robertson trade, both of which are rentals, I believe. Correct? Is Giolito a rental?
Giolito is a rental.
Yeah, and I know Robertson is.
I think all of the White Sox starting pitchers were essentially. Lance Lynn was also a rental, I believe. I think Cease is the only one that isn't. That's the reason why the White Sox aren't parting ways.
Right. Yeah. And so I am not. I think what's most likely happening is they are prioritizing not jeopardizing their future and trying to get guys with control, which is going to be easier to do. When they get close to the deadline. Also, Jose Dog, chill. Why are you celebrating being right about the team sucking? That's weirdo energy, my guy.
It's something that we do, and I think it's because we have this weird thing here in Arizona where we haven't had joy. We haven't had things happen for us.
So we're going to celebrate being right about the team being bad?
No, here's why. I think that it's just easier to go that route, and then if things are bad, then you're not disappointed and you're not let down. But if things are good, then you win because you're still in the playoff hunt. Team. Right.
And that's why they go do things at the deadline, because they're still in the playoff hunt. And they have a chance to spark this team.
Now, that's the weird dual-sided nature to this conversation is that they need to get better. They need something, right? And we know that we've seen this team have a trade happen like the JD Martinez trade where Torey Lovullo said that he went in and he pumped his fist in his office like Herb Brooks from the USA national team after they won the gold medal, right?
Who do you play for?
But I'll tell you, you never know what the Diamondbacks could bring over that could spark this team to be better, right? And I think that's I don't know. That's the hard decision, and that's the decision that Mike Hazen and the front office are in.
And also,
do they make the move, and how much are the moves going to cost, especially with the trade market being as expensive as it is right now?
That's the thing. Everyone's getting very impatient, and I get that. I tweeted when the Robertson trade got tweeted last night. I said the D-backs need to announce Bednar. And it was tongue in cheek, but I want them to do something, but it gets easy. The price lowers as the closer you get to the deadline.
Right. And that's going back to the question that we were asked. That's the reason why this is taking so long is the Diamondbacks are waiting. The Diamondbacks are also waiting to see how bad they're going to be, right? Like, so, I mean, don't get it twisted. They also want to see if there's any worth to them to even make this team better, right? The joke about the Angels is that the Angels are potentially going to lose Ohtani at the end of the season and that they're trading away their future now to try to, like, make this team have some sort of run here in the second half, and they might not even make the playoffs. Do you want the Diamondbacks to be in that position? Do you want them to make trades but then still not be good enough to even make the playoffs?
Yeah, and
that could potentially happen.
I don't want them to go, like, I love Marcus Stroman, and I've said that I want him here. The reality is I don't really think that's that smart of a move, especially if it's the only move you're making. Like, Bednar, I like a lot because there's control, and I don't know that necessarily this year is the way it is going to be the year, but he gives you a chance to be better this year and also be better next year and the year after that.
And I think that was Benjamin's point or question early on, like, why do we want to not give up anything for Ohtani, and why do we want to go in on Bednar? Because the thought here is that this team is good this year, but they're going to even be better next year and beyond. And also, if you're of the camp that thinks this, we have a limited time frame for Zach Gallen to be here. So next year and the following season are the 2 years that maybe are the years that you go for it. To have a guy like Bednar in your bullpen closing games completely changes the dynamic right now of this team.
Also, they have not gone into an off season yet where they have been a playoff team. Like, and so in terms of like making the team even better next year, is like they can do things at deadline now, get Bednar, whatever. There's also going to be free agents that now they're going to be in on because this is a team that can win a World Series next year that they would not have been on coming into this year because they are exceeding expectations. Every expectation that people from that organization had laid out have been surpassed. Yeah. They did not expect this. So they did not. This roster was not in a position to necessarily be a World Series team when they started the season, and so now they're trying to make these adjustments at the deadline. You give them a full off season, and you let some players develop. Hopefully, you get to next year where you have a more consistent third baseman. Nick Ahmed never has to see the field again. You maybe have another catcher who's good. And I'm not trying to like punt on this season, but I'm saying the approach at the deadline should be one that sets you up for success for this year and next year and the year after that.
I think the biggest thing to me is the point that Tyler Hall makes here, and he says we've also seen them make moves and it all falls apart.
Also true, right? Yeah.
And honestly,
that's a whole other conversation.
That maybe goes back to the negative thought process and how that kind of infiltrates, your ability to think that anything good can happen to your team. Also, I don't know. I mean, really, what we're seeing is a team come back down to earth that overperformed all season long. And I think if we're talking about the reason why we haven't seen any trades made yet is that. I mean, the front office, as much as we think that this team could go on to win the World Series because we love them, we love the way they played, we love the way that these young guys have really done so much this season. I mean, the expectations were reasonable, right?
Also, I want to say this too. They trade for Lucas Giolito. I'm not sitting here pretending that this team is like really any better. Like Lucas Giolito is not really changing. They're better, obviously.
Or Lance Lynn, right?
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. I'm not shaking in my boots if I'm the teams in the AL wildcard race because the Angels have Lucas Giolito now.
Yeah,
and obviously that's can just be one brick in a variety of moves, I guess. But again, the deadline is still, it really hasn't gone, not a whole lot has happened yet. I know people want it to act like it has. Only 2 real players have been traded as far as I'm concerned. 3 maybe.
Yeah. AZ Sports Girl, we are also tired of seeing this team lose every day.
That is true.
It feels like that's exactly what's been happening again. They've now lost 50 of their last 20, and that's exactly why it feels that way. So are you going to go on the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet on them? Probably not, but there's lots of other great options for you to go bet on, especially for new customers. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PHNX. Bet just $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code PHNX, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. And now I have to read the disclaimer, so buckle up because it's going to be a long one. Should I stretch first? Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. Visit gamblinghelpline.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, in West Virginia, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. On all games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly in partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Bet 50. Max bet $50. 10 plus legal requirement for 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.com or .draftkings.com/baseball terms. And that's a good reason he left. I wouldn't stick around for this anyway, but we thank you guys so much for being here right now on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Okay. Shawn comes back. You back? You get a drink? You good?
No, I just went on vacation.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's a good time to do that. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe now. Leave us a little thumbs up just so that you could tell me you appreciate my fine ad reads here. Also, make sure you sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. If you're listening on the audio podcast side, subscribe there. Leave us a review. We always appreciate the feedback. And most importantly, we appreciate those of you that have joined us as PHNX diehard members. We always love you guys joining us for that. We had so much fun at our takeover event. It was honestly... It was our best takeover, and it was
the
a
rally
win.
Monkey. Shout out Cogs
and his monkey, which Cogs, by the way, is the reason we lost this game. He didn't pull his monkey out fast enough, and I know that sounds like a euphemism, but
wait till we start talking about Rich.
Wait, yeah, exactly. Wait till the Dick Mountain conversation starts here shortly. Of course, not only will you get wonderful benefits from our partners, such as a $50 gift certificate from our friends at Mountain Mike's and a ranch card from Dobson Ranch Golf Course. You also get a free piece of merchandise from the PHNXLocker.com. Every year you're a member, you also get 50% off. Or not 50% off. That's way too much. 20% off all future purchases. I'm just increasing.
Although there's a sale right now.
There is a sale right now
that'll get you 50%
off. So jump over to PHNXLocker.com. Get there right now and buy yourself some wonderful merch. Not only do you get all that stuff, you get access to our members-only Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. You get Jesse's newsletter full count and the newsletter from all of our writers around here, and so much more, including members-only merchandise, members-only invites to events, and members-only discounts. So become a diehard member today. Well,
real quick.
Yeah.
I just Marcos in here talking about how Mike Hazen needs to be fired and is on vacation, all this stuff. I just, you better be in here apologizing to the man if they make a trade. That's all I'm saying. Like there's still a few ways of nobody's done anything yet.
We're a few days away from the deadline. Relax, but you got to come.
Relax.
If they come through with a trade, you got to come back and you got to give the man credit. Look, I'm just saying.
Like, talk to me on the 31st at 3:01 p.m.
Yeah.
Then we can have this conversation. Until then, anything's possible.
I don't know. I don't know about agreeing with him being one of the worst GMs in the league because
we could be Colorado.
We could be a lot of things, but the person that really keeps us grounded and reasonable around here has finally arrived.
No, you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, this guy can step out.
I gotta stop telling people to relax.
We are here with the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman coming to us live from Chase Field. Jesse, wonderful to see you. And of course, I was wondering what the vibes were like tonight after the Diamondbacks have lost 15 out of 20. Feels like it's a lot.
Yeah, not great. Diamondbacks clubhouse was pretty quiet, as you would expect. We only spoke with Tommy Henry after this game. Didn't necessarily feel the need to speak with anyone else in the Diamondbacks clubhouse. I think Torey Lovullo, what he had to say after the game was interesting. He was using phrases like, our day will come. We're going to fight our way out of this one way or another. I'll never stop believing in this team. They've proven it to me again and again. These kinds of things where you can tell that Torey Lovullo has some level of awareness that this Diamondbacks team has been in free fall for several weeks now, right? I mean, it's like they started struggling at the end of June, and those struggles basically haven't stopped for about a month now at this point. So yeah, I mean, you can tell that this is really weighing pretty heavy on the guys in the clubhouse and on manager Torey Lovullo, who is just continuing to try to find answers as the Diamondbacks just continue to struggle day after day.
What should we be most concerned about, Jesse? Should we be concerned about the situation with their starting pitching, or should we be concerned about this inability for the offense to step up when they need it to? I mean, it seems like their offense can find its way and blow out losses to make them not so significant. But outside of that, it doesn't feel like this offense is able to muster up much lately.
Yeah, hitting with runners in scoring position continues to be a big problem for this baseball team. The D-backs were 0 for 7 in this game. I believe the Mariners were 5 for 16, and that's just kind of been the trend. Like series after series, opposing teams are hitting with runners in scoring position, and the Diamondbacks really aren't. They really had their chances in this game too. I mean, they had 9 hits against Logan Gilbert in the game. They did eventually score 2 runs that were charged to him, but they were because of a wild pitch and an error. Like the Diamondbacks never actually got like a big hit in this game. They were able to get some traffic on the base paths, but they really weren't able to execute when they needed to. I asked Torrey after the game if he felt the guys were pressing in those situations, and he kind of started by sort of saying yes, and then he kind of eventually arrived at saying no from what I could tell. I guess it's always kind of a hard question to answer. It just seems like hitting with runners in scoring position is something that ebbs and flows a lot. And, you might be overthinking it if you're saying that, guys are pressing every time that they're struggling and they're in a great headspace every time that they're doing well. I don't know if it's necessarily that black and white, but whatever's happening in those situations right now, it's not working for the Diamondbacks. And you saw that today in a game where they had just as many hits as the Mariners did, but the Mariners, come away with a 5-2 win.
It's a fair question because it does seem like the worse things get, the more this team presses. It feels like the bigger the situation sometimes for this team right now, the more they all struggle. I don't know. I mean, it's similar to what we've seen out of the bullpen in the 9th inning, where it doesn't matter who Torrey Lovullo calls upon, but it doesn't seem like anybody is able to effectively go out there and get outs consistently for this team. Even when a guy proves he can do it in one game, he comes out the next and all of a sudden falls apart. So I guess the direction that this is leading me is to wonder if this team at this point should even be buyers at the trade deadline with the way that they're playing. Your thoughts?
It's really tough. Yeah. I mean, I think in some ways Mike Hazen is almost, in a sense, you could make a case that he's backed himself into a corner where he kind of has to, because just a couple weeks ago, he was using words like ultra aggressive in conversations with reporters. And even when we spoke with him on Wednesday, I mean, it was pretty clear that the Diamondbacks were looking to buy, right?
Torrey even said it in his press conference, right? He was like, it's nice to be buyers this time of year instead of sellers like we've been in the past 2 seasons. So that was kind of tipping their cap a bit that Torrey is even convinced they're going to be buyers at the deadline.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been pretty clear from top to bottom in this organization for a while that they're planning to buy. But I mean, you have to, kind of think ahead here. The D-backs right now are 55-49. I believe they're a game out of the wild card at this point. They're still in a reasonable spot to buy. I don't think it's outrageous, but you look at some teams behind them. The Padres are playing pretty well. The Chicago Cubs have won 7 consecutive games and 9 of their last 10. They're only 2.5 games behind the Diamondbacks at this point. There's so many teams in this race that it really wouldn't be crazy for the D-backs to not buy at this point, but I'm not sure they're going to do that. I feel like with the comments that have been made, it would be a little weird for Mike Hazen to come out and say those things and then, back up and decide to go a different direction. I'm not sure how that would be received in this clubhouse.
We were just talking about it before the show. This was not a good night for the wild card. Like all of the wild card teams won. The Reds won, the Phillies won, the Cubs won,
Marlins won.
The Marlins won. So like, yikes! Yeah. I have a question. What's wrong with Lourdes Gurriel Jr.?
That's actually a question from our chat as well. Jesse. A lot of people.
What is going on?
Yeah.
Is he going to be the worst All-Star of all time?
Yeah, I mean, I have since May 23rd. He's at 182, 223, 349, which is awful. And that's 2 months. I mean, I know he missed about a week with a groin injury in there, but for 2 months, which is like more than half of the season at this point, Lourdes Gurriel has been a terrible hitter. And he did come over from Toronto with this kind of a reputation. We've known that Lourdes was one of the streakier hitters in the game, but this is another level of streaky, where, in May, he was basically the best hitter in baseball. And ever since then, he's really struggled. Derek, I know this is a really hard moment as we discuss this.
You gotta cut the hair, man.
I cut most of it out. I feel like this is not helped. It's not helped. It has not helped.
Dye your hair black.
Oh man, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, Jesse's right.
Torey Lovello was asked after the game this question of, what are you seeing with Lourdes Gurriel? And sounds like sort of a timing issue, which I guess is kind of what I've seen as well. It just seems like he's just like he's a little caught in between. A lot of lazy fly balls to the opposite field where he's letting the ball get a little bit too deep. A couple weeks ago, it seemed like he was constantly rolling over the top to the pull side.
Was your numbers on front? Did your numbers date back to May 23rd for Lourdes Gurriel?
Yeah, May 23rd.
That's the exact date I had. He's slashing 168, 227, 356 slugging percentage with a 584 OBP and a 584 OPS. I'm sorry. My numbers are basically identical, but I threw on his 0 for 4 from today. So unfortunately, those have gotten a little
even worse.
It's even worse. Yeah.
Game today.
Yeah. That's rough. That's rough for this team. Well, and I guess the other question, or at least the point I was making to the chat is, we talked about the Angels the other day, and we kind of questioned what the Angels were doing. While you appreciate in your heart what they're trying to do, while you appreciate the effort to not only keep Shohei Ohtani in an Angels uniform for the long term, but you could also say to try to make the most out of the time left that you potentially have with Ohtani. The Angels made some moves, but they might be for naught, right? They might not even make the playoffs.
They lost 4-1 today.
The way that things are going for them. The Dodgers also made some moves, potentially some of the most mediocre trades in the history of Major League Baseball for one franchise, all at the trade deadline. But let's take a look. We tweeted out.
To be clear, the only reason we're calling it mediocre is because they went to the Dodgers. If this is any other team, we're saying these are bad trades.
Yeah, right. Yeah, these are straight up awful trades if it's for any other team. But for the Dodgers, we're still suspicious that they might make all four of these guys into some of the best players in baseball by the time the season is over, right? But yeah, like you look at some of these, they got Kiki Hernandez, Ahmed Rosario, Lance Lynn, a target we had for the Diamondbacks, but didn't know if we really wanted or not. And relief pitcher Joe Kelly goes back to the Dodgers. Of course, for that iconic moment alone, I think that was worth it. The trade, even if he does
genuinely one of my favorite baseball moments.
4.97 ERA and a -3 BWAR. But Lance Lynn, not great. Ahmed Rosario, 675 OPS. Kiki Hernandez, 604 OPS. I don't want to see the Diamondbacks make these kind of trades, Jesse. Like if it's a decision of whether or not they do this or not, I don't want this, because according to information that we have been sent, the value kind of went the White Sox way, right? The White Sox seemingly won this trade, and the White Sox are seemingly winning all of their trades because now a team that's kind of been rudderless has a direction involving rebuilding their farm system and moving towards the future. And the trades they've made so far have kind of lined up to make them look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the national reaction to these deals that the Dodgers have made is, you look at who the Dodgers are getting and you're like, okay, this isn't really all that great. You're not really sure exactly what they're thinking. And then you look at what the Dodgers are giving up and you realize, okay, they're not really giving up a whole lot in these deals. That said, the Dodgers are still giving up like actual value. I mean, it's not like they're trading nothing for players who on paper, as you just saw in that tweet, all of those guys have been below replacement level players this season. Theoretically, you shouldn't really be giving up anything in order to get them. And yet the Dodgers did have to tap into their farm system, along with, I guess, Noah Syndergaard was one of the pieces that they used in those deals. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes to show where the trade market is at right now. If you want Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly, who have ERAs that average out to around 6, you're going to have to give up, a 23-year-old in Double-A, who I believe is the Dodgers' number 9 overall prospect according to MLB Pipeline. That was one of the guys one of the guys that went in that deal. So
yeah,
it is a little weird. I mean, this isn't Scherzer and Trey Turner, right? Like this is a little step down in terms of what we're used to seeing the Dodgers do at the trade deadline.
Right.
But you could kind of squint and see how these guys, in certain roles could help the Dodgers the rest of the way.
Well, we talked about it. They're really looking for depth. They do have some really good star players all around the diamond, starting pitching, infield, outfield. Like they have great players. Really, they just don't have a lot. They don't injuries and stuff have really been their Achilles heel. And once, like their depth has just kind of been exposed at times. So I don't feel like this is a terrible move to give them more depth. It's just not, like you said, it's not the kind of moves we're used to seeing the Dodgers make to bring in the big names. And I don't know. I mean, we got some analysis of these trades. We got some screenshots here that kind of show, I know this is kind of hard to see, but the White Sox really in these value situations have been the ones that have been getting the most, not only out of the Dodgers trade for Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly, but also with their trade with the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, in both of these deals, right? Basically, what this is doing is it's looking at surplus value. So it's like how much money is the player's projected performance worth compared to how much money they're actually going to be paid. In both of these situations, I guess we're looking at the Dodgers. So if we look at the trade at the top, the Dodgers are getting two players in Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly who both have a negative surplus value. In other words, they're projected, they're making more money than they're actually projected to be worth. Yeah. And on the other side, the White Sox are getting three assets that all are on the positive side, which prospects generally are because they don't really have any money. They don't really have any actual contracts in the books.
They make $10,000 a year and they get free hot dogs. So their value is still very high compared to their cost.
And then at the bottom here, you see another trade that happened today, which didn't involve the Dodgers, but the White Sox and the Astros made a trade as well. The Astros apparently have this obsession with trading for Kendall Graveman at the trade deadline. It's the second time that they've done this in the last couple of years.
They have to do it, Jesse. They have to.
Even Kendall Graveman grades out as being a negative surplus value player. His FIP this year is actually close to 5. So there are some warning signs there with the reliever that the Astros are getting. And on the other side, the White Sox are getting Corey Lee, who not that long ago was one of the better young catching prospects in the game. So yeah, in both of these deals, I mean, you've got like theoretically negative value going to the buying team, and the team that's selling is actually getting some pretty decent prospect capital. Unfortunately for teams like the Diamondbacks, that's kind of where the trade market stands right now.
Yeah, well, and it's understandable, but it's the reason why we don't want to see the Diamondbacks overpay. It's the conversation we've been having. When we put together some of these trade proposals that we've put together, a lot of fan reaction from the Diamondbacks fan side is that we are giving up too much to get some of these players that we're trying to get. We're trying to be realistic based on the value here and based on the trade market. Just like at one point with the housing market, things were crazy and still kind of are. Like the trade market in baseball is the same way. It is definitely a seller's market and not a buyer's market. So the teams selling are going to get way more in return for the players, maybe even way more than they're even worth, just based on the fact that so many teams, A, are still in it, and B, feel like they are just one player or two players away from being competitive in the playoffs. I don't know if I can say that now about this Diamondbacks team after watching them play in the second half of this baseball season so far. And I don't know if I want to see them sacrificing trades where they are getting negative value in return for prospects they're giving up. Honestly, I mean, and I, like you said, a lot of this is due to the fact that baseball players are just paid so much fucking money, right? Like so many baseball players are paid so much that it's going to be hard once you've reached a certain level of being a major league star for that value at times to really be more than what you're getting paid, because they're just paying guys so much money in order to sign them during free agency off seasons and just everything involved with guys getting paid a lot of money. But we've talked about this. The Diamondbacks' key to success is building through their farm system, building through their minor league players. Corbin Carroll is a guy that 30 out of 30 baseball teams would trade for right now. And they would absolutely pay anything to get a guy like Corbin Carroll to be on their team. They would pay an absurd amount, way more than the Diamondbacks signed him for to an extension. So like the Diamondbacks' only choice at times in order to remain competitive is to find diamonds in the rough like Corbin Carroll. They're not going to come around very often. And to be honest, that's the reason why I feel like they can't part with guys in order to kind of get these low value players back just to try to make themselves better without really asking the question, is this guy going to be enough to get us to the playoffs? If you're asking me, I think that's the reason why Mike Hazen is going to have a really difficult time and probably why we haven't seen any moves made yet. It's just so difficult to look at the asking price for some of these players and think, is that guy really going to make us that much better than it's worth all of this that they're asking, right? So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see, Jesse, but I hope they do something. And I think that's the predicament I'm stuck in. I'd like to see them do something to change what's happening right now to this team and how much they've fallen. But I also don't really know if I want to see them make a move that involves mortgaging their future for this season that we are so unsure about how things will turn out. So I don't know. But
Groundhog Mama is also making a good point that I haven't really thought about. But as far as like people in the chat are concerned, like everyone's comparing the Diamondbacks to what the Dodgers do, and it's like it's not the same organization. Like we can't operate the same way the Dodgers do.
Yeah, because the Dodgers can afford to get a guy within their organization through a trade.
Yeah, they can afford to get rid of.
They can afford to sign him a long-term deal. Like, I mean, I think that I don't know if I made that point to Benjamin earlier because his talk about Ohtani, and why people are willing to want to give up so much for Bednar, not for Ohtani, and it really comes down to control, right?
Yeah.
Ohtani's magical. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that Ohtani is a significantly better player than Bednar. That's not the question. It's a matter of the Diamondbacks not being able to keep him past October and Bednar being under control for a number of years. That to me is the one thing at this point I'm looking for out of a trade that the Diamondbacks make, and we'll see if they get that. But I do appreciate Jesse being with us here from Chase Field. I do hope that in between there and the office, when you come back here, you stop at Circle K and pick up some snacks. This guy's on all the gas pumps, by the way. I don't know if you've heard. A friend of mine today texted me that I'm gas pump famous now, and crazy people are going to come out of the woodworks to try to scam me and stuff. I haven't tried to be scammed because I'm on a gas pump.
Someone tries to get to know me because I'm on a gas station.
Yeah,
I pray.
Yeah, that's the kind of
let somebody see me on a gas station pump and be like, I need to be. I keep thinking of that tweet. You ever see that tweet where the girl's like, why can't I have a guy like this? And then the guy's like, hey, and then she's like, no, and then he's like, I'm literally the guy in the picture. Like, I feel like something like that's gonna happen. They're gonna be like, oh my god, this guy's so cute, and we're gonna be like, what's poppin'? And they're gonna be like, ew.
And that's how Shawn met his wife. Right. Well, you can stock up at Circle K and maybe find your wife at your local Circle K. It is America's thirst stop.
They've got coffee,
right? They got
snacks,
coffee
and maybe your next wife,
and maybe the love of your life. Who knows? But they do have Polar Pops that stay cold longer, and they do have Circle K branded snacks that should not be slept on, because not only are they cheaper, but they are better than whatever else you can get within the same Circle K. So make sure to try those out. Also, they have wonderful deals like their buy 4 Powerades for $5. And on top of that wonderful deal, you get entered into a drawing to potentially win a 2023 Ford Big Ben Bronco SUV. Of course, like I said,
to have the chance to fight me.
You have to, once you become a finalist, then you have to be drawn as the contender to fight Shawn for the truck. Winner takes all, including I don't know, maybe Shawn's maybe Shawn's hair. I don't know.
Why not? If you want it,
if you beat him,
not everyone can get coils like this.
Take a trophy. If you're gonna beat him, take a trophy.
Take the glass. Take the stash. Take the stash.
Yeah, hang it in your rear view mirror when you drive around. You can also get buy 2 get 1 free Monster Energy drinks and buy 2 get 1 free Beatbox hard tea. Make sure you're not missing out on all this great stuff, including the opportunity to fight Shawn. Right now, text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club and get a buy 1 get 1 free offer on 32-ounce Polar Pops. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. Of course, do not miss out on the Four Peaks beer while you're there. Four Peaks is the official craft beer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They have their Rattle On Red Ale, as well as this delicious, super juicy Staycation IPA that I'm drinking right now. So make sure to not miss out on the wonderful variety of beers that they have to offer over at Four Peaks. They also have their Four Peaks draft room at Chase Field. So if you are there enjoying a baseball game, swing by, check out the draft room. Maybe you watch the baseball game from there. It's located on the suite level, has wonderful food, and of course also has a wonderful view of the game. You can follow them at their calendar at fourpeaks.com/events to stay up to date on everything Four Peaks. You can also follow them on social media at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Well, we've discussed whether or not the Diamondbacks should make a trade. And of course, with Jesse here, before we let him go, we have to make sure that we discuss some more potential trade deadline targets for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And it's time for our favorite guy. It's Dick Mountain time.
Let's make a Dick Mountain out of a Rich Hill.
Dick Mountain, Jesse. Veteran pitcher Rich Hill, a.k.a. Dick Mountain from the Pittsburgh Pirates, would bring a lot of things to this starting rotation that they don't currently have, including a left-handed pitcher and a veteran presence that they don't really have from any of their guys. I feel like Merrill Kelly is the most adult pitcher that they have there. But let's talk about Rich Hill and his season here with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, if we look at Rich Hill's stats, nothing that really jumps off the page, right? He has a 4.82 ERA, 1.47 WHIP, 114 innings. He's going right around 6 innings per start, a little under that, 7.7 Ks per 9, 3.5 walks per 9. He has a 4.42 FIP, which is just okay. But yeah, I mean, in addition to the nickname, which I know you guys are probably most excited about.
I'm a huge fan of Dick Mountain.
I figured you probably would be.
How could you not be?
Yeah, but you know, he actually does would bring some things to this Diamondback starting rotation. You know, is he an upgrade over Tommy Henry? Is he an upgrade over Ryan Nelson? I'm not sure. I think the numbers there are pretty similar. You could make a case that he's not. But you know, Brandon Pfaadt is still very much an unknown, even though he was better his last time out. He still has an ERA over 8 on the season. It is pretty likely, at least on paper, that Rich Hill would be a better option for that 5th starter spot the rest of the way than Brandon Pfaadt would be. And he also, if we look at the pros and cons, you know, one of the biggest advantages of potentially making this move is the cost. Rich Hill, theoretically, this man is 43 years old. He shouldn't cost much as a rental for.
I don't like the way you said that. I don't like the way you said that. I'm 42. I don't like that. That's in the con side, Jesse. How dare you, you ageist?
Yeah, but at the same time, Derek, you're not a professional athlete. You know, you being 42 is totally fine. If you're still pitching against major league hitters, your age is a little bit more consequential.
Fine.
So, no hard feelings there. But yeah, he is a lefty, which is something that I guess would benefit the Diamondbacks rotation. Kind of help balance things out a little bit. He obviously has loads of experience with as many years as he's pitched in the league. On the con side, as I mentioned, he is just a rental. You're only getting him for the rest of the season, and he hasn't been so great over his last 4 or 5 starts. So,
it's not.
You know, that I guess that could be a bit of a red flag. But the big thing here is you know, if the Diamondbacks want to buy, if Mike Hazen wants to be able to, you know, turn around in a few days and tell his players, like, you know, I said I was going to buy and I did. Rich Hill is a guy that you could add. Theoretically, he's an improvement. And he shouldn't cost all that much. He really shouldn't. One would hope. Obviously, the market is set really high right now, but I think just especially given the way that he's performed recently, the price should be pretty low from the Pirates.
I think the most important thing here is that for Dick Mountain to be located in Scottsdale, Arizona, makes a lot of sense. And I have a feeling that might be one of the areas of town that he looks to live in when he's here. Also, yeah, I mean, is he worth it? I guess is the big question here.
Does Dick get you excited?
Does Dick make you excited? And is a Dick Mountain enough to get the Diamondbacks over the hump, if you will?
I I knew I was going to regret talking about Rachel on the show.
You knew it. You left us here in the studio by ourselves, Jesse. We've been making Dick Mountain jokes all night long.
Leah was going to be able to control us.
I thought Leah would be like the adult in the room.
She loves it.
She doesn't wield enough power. Maybe she's giggling along.
No,
with
it's
you,
hilarious.
So.
As Cog said, if you bring us dick, we will never shut up.
No.
Yeah.
What's Summer Walker said it. I just need some dick.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I just need some loving.
It's cheap. It's cheap dick, right? Like that's the biggest thing. It's the cheapest dick you can find.
The best kind of dick.
But does the dick make you better, Jesse? I mean, does Rich Hill?
Okay. I will say this, like. This seems like the kind of dick that would be really fun for like a couple of days, and then we would realize that it sucks, and we don't want that dick. We don't want it anymore. Like, but let's be real. Like,
sucks. What?
Like, I think if you were to trade,
hates his life
I know.
so
I think
much.
if he's so happy.
Should we remove Jesse from the broadcast while we do this portion?
No, but like,
I don't know.
real talk. Like, I think it's Rich Hill, right? Like, it is Dick Mountain. I think if he were to get traded here, like the fan base would be a little excited over it for a few days, and then they'd realize that like, oh, this is not really like, it's not really turning this team from a non-contender into a contender. Like, it's not a move that really is going to move the needle a whole lot in one direction. It helps, especially if it's in a series of other moves. Someone had said in the chat that if you package it with Bednar, you feed families. Marco said that, and I love that comment. Like, absolutely.
Well, and I mean, is he an actual upgrade over Brandon Pfaadt? That's the big question. Like, Brandon Pfaadt, we have no idea. Like, you know exactly what you're going to get out of Rich Hill. You know exactly. There's no surprises there. He might have a bad outing here and there. He's not going to be spectacular, but he's gonna give you what his ERA is most of the time, right? There's something there about the idea that we still have no idea. We haven't even seen Brandon Pfaadt in his final form yet. He's not even close to that point yet. So I just feel like there's an idea here that we might be upgrading or wanting to upgrade to a guy that isn't really going to make this team better. And again, I mean, yeah, all jokes aside, like, is he actually going to be enough to get this team to the playoffs by trading for him? Even if it's prospects that aren't, like not a major move. Cost is going to be cheap, Jesse. What do you think that this kind of move could cost the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, we have a trade proposal idea here. This one's tough because it is hard to gauge what it would really take, simply because on paper, Rich Hill really shouldn't cost much of anything. With the money that he's due for the rest of the season, I believe it's around $2 million or so. I mean, that's probably about what his performance the rest of the year is going to be worth. So you really don't feel like you should have to give up much prospect capital to get him. With what we've seen so far in the market, though, the Angels paid pretty handsomely for Lucas Giolito, who's obviously a better pitcher. But the Dodgers, as we talked about earlier, I mean, they gave up legit prospects in a deal that got them Lance Lynn, who you could argue is worse than Rich Hill, and Joe Kelly, who's, a reliever with an ERA around 5. So I think if you're the D-backs, you'd have to be realistic and know this is going to cost you at least some sort of prospect capital. I have Dylan Ray here being the primary piece going to Pittsburgh, along with a left-handed pitcher, I believe is down in Hillsborough, and Spencer Geesting. I don't know. It's pretty hard to gauge this. I think Dylan Ray, in my book, honestly feels like an overpay for half a season of Rich Hill. Dylan Ray was, taken in the first few rounds by the Diamondbacks just last year, and had a really good start the other day with Hillsborough. He's like trending upwards down there. So, I mean, you'd kind of cringe if it actually cost a guy like Dylan Ray to get Rich Hill for 2 months. But for being realistic, it wouldn't shock me if that's sort of where the asking price was.
It doesn't take much to get Dick, Jesse. It doesn't cost much, but
time of year.
Speaking of, especially during this time of year. Speaking of relievers, though, the Diamondbacks could still be in the market for relievers. I'm almost feeling more and more like that might be more important than even going after starting pitching. But it changes day to day. Seeing Ryan Nelson have a struggle and seeing Tommy Henry have a bad first inning completely changes my mindset. We'll see how I feel after Brandon Pfaadt pitches tomorrow. But the Diamondbacks still definitely could bring in some relief pitching from these teams that, again, wouldn't cost very much and could potentially give them some stability late in games that they haven't had lately. One of those names is Detroit Tigers right-handed pitcher Alex Lange. Is it Lange or Lang? Just Lange.
I believe it's just Lang.
I was talking to this guy.
Not German.
When the last name is too obvious, they don't even give you a pronunciation on the old baseballreference.com. But anyway, Lang is from the Detroit Tigers. Again, another team that is going to be having a fire sale similar to what we're seeing with the White Sox. And he has not been terrible as a closer for the Tigers team this year. He actually has a pretty decent ERA. Let's take a look at his stats so far this season.
Yeah, 3.89 ERA, a 1.3 WHIP. Not fantastic for a closer, but decent. He's thrown 41 and 2/3 innings out of the Tigers bullpen this year. 11.4 Ks per 9. Swing and miss is definitely there. The walks are there as well. 6 walks per 9. That's pretty high for a back end reliever. But he does have 17 saves this year. Alex Lange is 17 for 20 in save opportunities for the Tigers. That's 85%. That is significantly higher than the Diamondbacks save percentage this year, which I believe is right around 70. So yeah, he's a clear upgrade. And if we look at the pros and cons of bringing in a guy like Lange,
before we do that, Jesse, I want to just notice Alex Lange. This is the man who earlier this season I talked about his wonderful short sleeve turtleneck jersey combo. Can we go back to the stat sheet? We see it a little bit.
It is a look.
It's
crazy
a
man energy.
Look
with the gold
tats
chain and the tats coming down under the sleeve
and the chain. Let's take a look now at what the pros and cons are, because there's another wonderful image of this man with his chains in full motion.
He looks like he's gonna. It looks like he wears it because he's afraid he's gonna get bitten in the neck because he will bite you in the neck.
I don't understand it. Like, does he cut the sleeves off himself? Is this just a shirt?
Turtleneck?
Is it a faux turtleneck? Is it just the? It's like a
They
dickie,
have to trade
like
for
a
him
dickie.
now. They have to trade so we can get answers.
I need to know this information.
I need to see this man with his shirt off.
I mean, on an episode where we're talking about Dick Mountain, I concur. I also need to see this man with his shirt off. However, some pros and cons here when it comes to Alex Lange. Of course, he is a closer, and that is something, Jesse, that the Diamondbacks absolutely need to start considering at this point.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing here is he does have closing experience. He's only stepped into that role full-time this season, so it is a newer thing for him. He's not a David Bednar. He hasn't been doing this. Well, I guess David Bednar kind of stepped into that role last season for the Pirates. He has a longer track record of being an elite reliever, though. The big thing with Alex Lange on the pro side, though, is he's under control through 2027. So you're talking about having a closer, a legitimate closer for 4 seasons after this one. So 4.5 years of control altogether. His swing and miss stuff is legit. I mentioned his command on the con side. That has been a downside for him this year, up at 6 walks per 9. I believe it was mid 4s the past couple of seasons. So you feel like that's something that could regress in that direction as he moves into the future. He's not necessarily an elite closer, like we said. I mean, the numbers that we talked about earlier, they don't, it's not Aroldis Chapman. It's not David Bednar. It's not that caliber of a guy, but he has shown himself to be really reliable in that role. And the last thing on the con side here is he's probably going to cost a decent amount. 4 years of control of any kind of reputable reliever at this point, that's going to cost a pretty penny. So, we'll see if the Diamondbacks are. Obviously, David Bednar is a guy you would like to have a lot more than Alex Lange, but depending on how the cost works out, he might be a much more realistic option for them.
A couple people in the chat are not a fan of the non-elite descriptor. I can't say I am either.
No, it very much has like past failure vibe for trade, like Shelby Miller.
How was it?
Type vibe.
Like if someone asks you how a movie was, and you're like, it's okay. I wouldn't say it was elite, but it was all right.
Like that is exactly
Am
how.
I gonna be spending money
that's
on
how
the movie?
Gerald responded to me. Spoiler alert about Secret Invasion, and I knew things weren't going to go good because I hadn't watched the finale yet. And I was like, "How's
it
the
sounds
finale?"
like a nice person saying something sucks.
He said fine. He said it was fine, and I was like,
it honestly sounds like how Jesse would say somebody sucks.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Well, I can honestly tell you that wasn't the case here.
That's fair. That's
fair. Alex Lange does not suck. But yeah, I mean, it's like like on the con side, what kind of negative descriptor do you give to say that like a guy is genuinely good? Like he is genuinely good, but like he's not that good. Yeah. Like I can't say he's mediocre because that would make him sound worse than he actually is.
Just shy of elite.
But I guess non-elite was the best thing I could come up with.
It's kind of like when we talked about Chafin's numbers before that last outing he had that was pretty bad, right? Like Chafin's numbers were the exact kind of reliever that we would throw the entire farm at to get, it felt like, right? So it's like sometimes you don't really know, but then looking at his numbers that we put up earlier, his numbers don't scream that he's an elite reliever or pitcher of any kind. And I mean, sure, some of the other guys that were elite, like David Bednar that we talked about, did have some things to their peripherals that showed that they had really good defense behind it, and it wasn't maybe all of them. But I mean, at this point, the Diamondbacks really need to consider the kind of player that they're going to get in return for some of these trades. And our proposal here is not going to be a cheap one. We are saying that this is going to cost Alek Thomas to the Detroit Tigers. So
nope, I'm done. I'm good. I'm out.
No, you're good. You're out.
We can move on.
Yeah. Shawn's out. Jesse, you out? You in? What are you in on this trade? What do you thought?
I don't know. I think Gambo, I believe, reported a few days ago the Tigers were intrigued by Alek Thomas or something like that. I think he's a guy they'd be interested in. I think if you're the D-backs, you probably try to form some sort of a package deal with the Tigers where you get a controllable reliever in Alex Lange. But maybe you get, a short-term starter like an Eduardo Rodriguez, or a Michael Lorenzen in the same deal. I think you'd probably feel better about that if you're trading an asset like Alek Thomas. But look, at the same time, like if this is actually what the cost was, it wouldn't totally shock me. In theory, it is an overpay. I did the baseball trade values thing for whatever that's worth. And, it does say that this would be an overpay for the Diamondbacks. But I mean, it's 4 years. Like the Tigers have a lot of leverage in this situation. They don't need to move Lange right now. And 4.5 years of a bona fide closer who could get better with time, still on the upswing of his career. It wouldn't shock me if Alek Thomas is what that costs. And frankly, I think Diamondbacks fans might have to be realistic about Alek Thomas and, recognize that as good as he is in center field. And, I think we've seen him take some steps forward offensively this year. The guy hasn't hit left-handed pitching in the majors. He has shown basically no sign of being able to hit left-handed pitching in the majors. And that's really limiting in his long-term profile. If you're as heavy of platoon splits as Alek Thomas does at this point, you have to have a real conversation about whether a guy like that can actually be an everyday player. As of right now, I think he more profiles as a fourth outfielder. And if you view him that way, if the Diamondbacks view him that way, you'd probably trade, 5 or 6 years of a fourth outfielder for 4.5 years of, a bona fide closer who could even improve once he gets over here. So it very much depends on how the Diamondbacks view Alek Thomas.
Marcos Valencia asks, isn't Rodriguez controllable in regards to Eduardo Rodriguez? He very much so is. I think he is under contract until the 2026 season. So that's why we're
2026, but he also has an opt-out that he is very likely to take. So I think teams are viewing Eduardo Rodriguez as a rental as well. They should, because barring some sort of catastrophe in the
that opt-out is after this season.
Yeah, right.
I really like Marcos's we feed families phrase. I'm going to start using that.
Says Eduardo Rodriguez and Lange, and we feed families. And yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I'm going to start using that.
Well, Jesse, we appreciate you updating us from Chase Field, and I know you're going to be out there all weekend long. So make sure to keep it locked to Mr. Friedman's Twitter. That's Jesse N. Friedman on the Twitter. And also, we might have an emergency podcast or two in store if the Diamondbacks do make a move. So, of course, we ask you to keep it locked right here. Jesse, we thank you. And we will see you, if not at some point this weekend, we will see you on Monday.
You will not see me on Monday, Derek. I guess
that is right. He's going to San Francisco, you loser. That's right. He's just going off to still cover this team. So we will have Jesse in place strategically throughout the end of the trade
deadline, and Jesse's just in San Francisco.
Yeah, if we send, look, Hayes, if we send Jesse all the way to San Francisco and nothing happens, make him work. We're going to be furious. We're going to be furious. Our bosses are going to be furious. Our bosses' bosses are going to be furious. But anyway, all right. So Jesse will be out there for the series with the Giants, which apparently is going to be a very important series for the Diamondbacks, and
apparently
could determine their fate even. So keep it locked to Jesse Friedman. Jesse, we thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, my flight leaves at 6 a.m. tomorrow, so I guess I should go home and pack. Yeah.
God damn it. That gives me so much anxiety.
Procrastinating.
Get out of here now.
I am the same way. I feel you. Get there.
End this call with him. I don't want him on here anymore. Make him go be responsible. Go do your thing, Jesse. My God. But
have a safe flight, Jesse.
Yeah, we do. Drink lots of water, Jesse. You know I worry about you all the time. I hope he took his sunglasses with him because he forgets them here at the office all the time. But you should.
His laptop at the office.
He does forget his laptop.
The writer forgets his laptop at the office.
I mean, but if
Jesse still can hear all of this, by the way, and he just can't defend himself.
Yeah, but we're not letting him get 2 words in edgewise. I will say this though: sunglasses. Jesse's are probably here at the office. He may have lost them, and if he did, they are Shady Rays. So. One thing that's great about Shady Rays is if he did lose his Shady Rays, he would get a brand new free pair sent out to him for losing them because Shady Rays offers the most insane protection plan in all of eyewear. It is backed. Your sunglasses with Shady Rays are backed by a lost and broken replacement plan. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. They have your back long after you purchase. You can shop their entire collection at the brand new location here in town at Kierland Commons. It's a full-stop shop for all things Shady Rays. And of course, if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can also return them or exchange them for a completely new pair. No questions asked. There's no risk when you shop. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated by 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And of course, Jesse isn't here to talk about how aesthetically pleasing the Game Time app is, but Shawn can attest to it.
I can. I look at the price of Drake tickets on it basically every day.
He does. He's stalking Drake on the Game Time app. And of course, not just games.
I do my stalking off the app.
Well, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean. He's stalking the tickets on the app is what he's doing. And you can too, because of course, procrastinators get to win big on the Game Time app. The longer you wait, the cheaper the price goes. Of course, Game Time is the place for last minute ticket deals, and it is the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. You can snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute ticket prices, lowest price guaranteed. You all right over there, pal?
No, I get this comment that I look like Jordan Poole all the time, and I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see it. So I put my glasses on just to see that I was getting called like I look like Jordan Poole, and I took them back off. I don't think I look like Jordan Poole. I'm not hurt by it, but I just don't think it's that accurate. And yes, Cogs, I've listened to Utopia. It's it's good, but it's not his best album.
All right, well there you go. By the way, if you want to enjoy music the right way, do it with a little bit of a wink, right? And that was our friends at Wink. It's a seltzer with a wink of THC. Summer's not a spectator sport, so grab an ice cold wink and go out there and play. They have a perfect balance of THC and CBD. And of course, they have a couple of varieties with their cans. They also have their countdown for those of you that need a little bit extra bit of a boost. But make sure, if you're looking for just a balanced, light, and social drink, check out their Wink. It's bubbly enough to make the room work, bubbly enough to keep your wits about you, and make sure that you are not too far gone to enjoy the party that's to be had. They're also 0 calories, 0 sugar, and 0 alcohol. They're available in 2.5 milligram or 5 milligram cans. You can find Wink right here in Arizona. Look for Wink at all Sunday Goods dispensaries in the Valley and Botanica dispensary in Tucson. They're now in 12 states nationwide and even recently launched online ordering and home delivery to about a dozen others. So check out everything they have to offer at drinkwink.com, and that is WYNK.com. So get down on that immediately. We thank you guys, of course, for being here. Those of you that showed up tonight after this loss, we love you. We appreciate you. It's Friday night. We know you have better ways to spend your time, but we are so glad you spent it with us. You can follow me on Twitter at cap_caveman with a K. Follow him and ask him for all of his music reviews.
You can ask me about anything.
All of your takes.
Listen, I got no friends. I have no life. Talk to me on the internet.
That's right. Send him questions. We're just kind of an AMA with Shawn on Twitter, but you can get him at Shawn_DePaz, of course.
I don't know if you noticed I was winking the entire wink. I know, but it was aggressive, and you didn't even notice. I was hoping somebody did.
I noticed.
Did.
Do we even call it Twitter anymore? Do I even say that we're on Twitter?
Follow us on Twitter.
We're on the X. I don't know, but you can get Leah Merrill on there. She is at MERRALL. Of course, our show is at PHNX D-backs. But all roads lead to at PHNX sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're still Damon's dogs, by the way. Whether Damon's here or not, we're still Damon's dogs. We appreciate you guys for being here tonight. We thank you so much for your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when you can win baseball games at your home ballpark.